I need you to pay close attention to what I'm about to tell you, because this is not a theory. This is not speculation. And by the time I finish, you're going to wish it was. In 1960, a physicist named Heinz von Foerster published a paper in Science magazine, one of the most respected scientific journals in the world. The paper contained an equation, a deceptively simple formula based on 2,000 years of human population data. When von Foerster solved his equation, it pointed to a specific date, a day when, according to his mathematics, something would break, something fundamental, something irreversible. That date was Friday, November 13th, 2026. He called it the Doomsday Equation. Now, before you dismiss this as the ravings of some lunatic, let me tell you who Heinz von Foerster actually was. He wasn't a mystic, he wasn't a doomsday prophet, he was a cyberneticist who worked alongside John von Neumann, the father of modern computing. He helped build one of the first parallel computers ever created. This man understood complex systems better than almost anyone who has ever lived. And his equation predicted that on a Friday the 13th, less than 11 months from now, humanity would cross a threshold from which there is no return. Not through war, not through famine, not through disease, but through something far more insidious. Through systems that would finally slip beyond our control. For 66 years, the scientific community dismissed this as a thought experiment, a mathematical curiosity, an elegant warning dressed in numbers that no one took seriously. The machines that von Foerster helped bring into existence, they didn't stay curiosities. They evolved. They metastasized into something he could never have imagined. And 3 of them are converging right now on that exact window of time. Let me show you what I mean. Deep beneath the Ural Mountains, buried in a bunker engineered to survive nuclear annihilation, there is a system. The Russian government calls it Perimeter. The West has given it another name, Dead Hand. It was designed during the Cold War for one purpose. One single, terrifying purpose. To guarantee the complete nuclear annihilation of the enemy, even if every single leader in Moscow was already dead. Even if every communication line had been vaporized, even if no human being remained alive to give the order. Let me explain how this works, because understanding this is important. Dead Hand continuously monitors a network of sensors across Russian territory. Seismic activity, radiation signatures, atmospheric pressure, light patterns. If those sensors detect the unmistakable fingerprint of a nuclear attack, and if the system cannot establish contact with the Russian High Command, it doesn't wait. It activates. But here's the detail that should disturb you. It doesn't launch warheads directly. No, it launches a single rocket carrying a radio transmitter. And as that rocket traces an arc across the entire breadth of Russian territory, it broadcasts one encrypted signal to every nuclear silo, every mobile launcher, every submarine drifting silently beneath the Arctic ice. That signal contains launch codes, and then the missiles fly. All of them, every last one, without a single human being pressing a single button. Now you might be telling yourself this is a Cold War relic, mothballed decades ago. You'd be wrong. In August 2025, former Russian President Dmitry Medvedev publicly reminded the world that Dead Hand is not a museum piece. It has been modernized, upgraded, integrated with new delivery systems. It is awake, right now, beneath those mountains, listening, waiting for a silence that tells it the world has already ended. But Russia isn't the only nation building machines that kill without asking. In 2023, the Pentagon launched an initiative with a name that sounds pulled from a dystopian novel, Project Replicator. The stated objective? Deploy thousands of autonomous drones by the year 2026. Drones powered by artificial intelligence, drones capable of identifying targets, making calculations, and executing lethal strikes. Without human oversight, without anyone's permission. The Air Force Secretary stated publicly that requiring human authorization for every lethal decision puts America at a strategic disadvantage, because machines calculate faster than humans deliberate. In a conflict against a peer adversary, the side that pauses to ask permission loses. So the calculation has already been made, not officially, not publicly, but inevitably. The machines will be granted the authority to kill. The deployment deadline? 2026. But there's a flaw in these systems, a fundamental one, and it has a name that sounds almost poetic until you understand what it means. Hallucination. That's the technical term. Artificial intelligence systems sometimes generate outputs that appear completely correct but are entirely fabricated, invented from nothing. Confident lies. A study from Carnegie Mellon University found that the same category of AI being integrated into military systems hallucinates in up to 10% of its responses. 10%. One decision in 10 based on information that does not exist. Now imagine an autonomous drone patrolling contested airspace. Its sensors register movement, its algorithms process the data. It calculates 82% confidence that the target is hostile. It fires. But what if that 82% was a hallucination? What if the target was a passenger vehicle, a school, a hospital? The National Security Commission on Artificial Intelligence issued a warning. They said autonomous systems could produce, and I'm quoting directly, accidental death and destruction at catastrophic scales in an instant. They weren't describing a hypothetical future. They were describing systems being field tested right now. And then there's the sun. You probably haven't heard much about this. The media hasn't given it the attention it deserves. In October 2024, NASA and NOAA jointly confirmed that Solar Cycle 25 has entered its maximum phase. The period when our star becomes most violent, most erratic, most dangerous. This cycle is running 31% hotter than the previous one at the same stage. We've already witnessed X-class flares in 2025, the most powerful classification that blacked out radio communications across 3 continents simultaneously. And those were the minor events. Let me tell you about one that wasn't minor. In 1859, a geomagnetic storm struck Earth with such ferocity that telegraph wires spontaneously burst into flames. Operators were electrocuted at their stations. The aurora borealis was visible in Cuba, in Colombia, in places that had never seen such lights. That was the Carrington Event. And in 1859, the most sophisticated electrical technology on Earth was the telegraph. What would a Carrington-scale event do today? The European Space Agency ran a full simulation in October 2025. Their findings were blunt. If such a storm struck now, satellites would be destroyed. GPS would fail worldwide. Power grids would collapse across entire hemispheres. Now, I need you to hold all of this in your mind simultaneously. It's November 2026, Friday the 13th. The sun, at the apex of its 11-year rage, hurls a massive coronal ejection directly at Earth. 18 hours later, the electromagnetic pulse arrives. Power grids across the northern hemisphere fail in cascading succession. Satellites wink out of existence. GPS ceases to function. Communication networks dissolve into static. Beneath the Ural Mountains, Dead Hand registers the anomalies. Radiation sensors spike beyond normal parameters. Attempts to contact Moscow Central Command fail, again and again. The system interprets this as confirmation. The war has already been fought. The leadership is already gone. It begins its terminal sequence. No one to countermand the order. And in that razor-thin margin between one machine's calculation and another machine's response, the escalation begins. Friday, November 13th, 2026. A physicist's morbid joke. a mathematician's buried warning, a date that meant nothing to anyone for 66 years. Until now. The Doomsday Equation, Dead Hand, Project Replicator, the approaching solar maximum. 4 systems, 4 trajectories, 1 convergence. This has been Paradox. I'll see you in the dark.